Alrighty, folks. Welcome to the Don't Be Ridiculous podcast. Not exactly sure what episode we're on. It's somewhere in the 80s. Um, but listen, good to be on. Didn't missed last weekend. So some crazy NBA stuff, Clark. I got to tell you, these playoffs have been fantastic. Every night, you're not really sure what you're getting.
Yeah.
It's been wild. Like if you'd have told us this is where we would be at this point, I'd be shocked. I can't believe the Lakers are up 3-1. I can't believe Miami is making quick work of the Knicks. I I can believe the Celtics are trying to screw it up, and I can't believe how well Devin Booker's played. And I mean, just good lord.
I can't believe
Uh,
James Harden in those two games. Like,
there's another one. There's another one. I can't believe. So yeah, I think we would save for the good stuff for the end. I think let's just go. We'll go series by series. Let's go with Knicks Heat first.
okay.
Um, you know, I mean, I thought the Heat had a good shot in this series, especially after I watched the first two games. And I was surprised. You and I were both surprised after game two. How people were like, "Yeah, the Knicks got to win." I think the Knicks still have a shot in this series. And I'm watching it, going, "You barely won a game at home when the Heat didn't have Butler playing." And Miami had a 6 point lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like it was really kind of disturbing. And they're like, oh, and Knicks fans are. I mean, first of all, New York's on fire right now with the fact that the Knicks are winning, or they think the Knicks are going to win, and
Yeah.
they've got Aaron Rodgers playing for the Jets. Like New York is really talking a lot of crap and saying a bunch of stuff and really high on themselves. And they're like, oh, Julius Randle's going to come back and he's going to be awesome. I mean, Ryan Russillo went through this on his podcast yesterday. The Knicks have. I mean, Julius Randle has been terrible. Like, it's been bad. Like, whoa. Like, yeah, he's made some shots, but I mean, the guy is a zero defense, and like I thought this would be a problem for Miami, the size that the Knicks have, and it has been no issue at all.
Yeah. As usual for Knicks fans and Jets fans, they start celebrating too early about any little good thing because it's been such a mess for so freaking long, you know. So, yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy because you look at some of the other teams and you think like, well, what team do you really trust toward the end of a game? And you're kind of like, I guess you got to put Miami there because it feels like when they're playing at the end of a game, they know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll lose, but they know what they're supposed to do. There's no like, they're always playing hard. There's, Spolstra's, regarded by some people as the best coach in the league in terms of just making adjustments and just, continuing to, figure out ways to to get open shots for other guys and to get Butler, get Butler shots. And Butler's a great playmaker too, which I didn't really foresee that before he got to Miami, but with Miami, he's an unbelievable playmaker. So, and then you got a Bam Adebayo game in Game 4 where he was a little bit more aggressive. Some of that was just he was kind of rolling to the basket, and the Knicks were not doing a good job covering him. But he made some plays too. He made some plays down in the post. So yeah, and the Heat were hitting shots. They were hitting threes, except for Duncan Robinson, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. So yeah, I don't. It's I'm. I'm a little surprised. Like I'm more surprised with the Milwaukee series. The Knicks, I kind of feel like from watching this series, it feels like the Knicks and the Heat are. I mean, I guess the Heat are better than the Knicks, but I didn't. It didn't feel like it was any sort of mismatch one way or the other. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a mismatch for the Heat. You know.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we're gonna get, I mean, this is the thing. Like, you look at it, the Heat couldn't make a shot during the season.
Yeah.
They're terrible shooting threes, and now all of a sudden they're shooting 40%. So, I
Yeah.
mean, if you tell me, so basically, I'm getting last year's Heat team for the most part, right? They don't have Hero, I get it, and they don't have PJ Tucker anymore. I understand, but the way they're playing, if this is what I'm getting, like, okay, well then the Heat are pretty good,
Kyle Lowry's been
and
better. Like we were
yep,
last year, we were kind of like, God, what are we getting from this guy? But he's been good. I mean, he's not his old self because he's older, but
right.
whatever. But he's been good. He gets on the floor. He's effective. He's been hitting
Yep.
some
Yeah,
shots
he's
and making some plays. So
yeah. Kyle Lowry's kind of doing what we thought he would be able to do last year. That didn't really happen. And then they're getting good contributions from Kevin Love. I mean,
yeah,
so that's basically like if you look at it, and Kirk Goldsberry's got an article on ESPN .com right now, basically saying, if you're like Heat culture, we have statistical evidence that it exists. So in the playoffs, the Heat have the most deflections, the most loose balls recovered, the most screen assists, which is basically screens directly leading to the guy that you're setting the screen for scoring. They're the best in the league in the playoffs. So all of the things that get hallmarked as that's toughness or that's what, if you want to win a title, these are the things you have to do. The Heat are doing all of them better than everyone else. Now, I'm not sure you can win the championship on the back of that, but and I'm as shocked. Listen, I'm as shocked as anybody. But when they were losing to Chicago in the play-in, I was like, yeah, maybe it'll be better if we lose this game. Maybe we can get a decent draft pick, whatever. And by the way, all the Heat fans were saying that. That's not that's not me not having faith in my team. I'm just watching what this team is. And it's when you and I had the conversation on here about should the Heat blow it up, that wasn't because we thought Jimmy Butler was lacking.
No,
it was because we thought Jimmy Butler can't take this team anywhere, because the rest of it is just not getting the job done. So to watch this, but it is disturbing. Basically, they won that game against the Knicks the other night. I think they shot 31% from three. So they're beating this Knicks team, and I hope people don't get out of whack because they're beating this Knicks team. The Celtics and the Celtics and the Sixers are playing at a different level. Now we'll get into the Celtics and the Sixers and their issues, but it's not the same level of basketball being played in both series here. So
the Heat and this is maybe this is not the right comparison to make, given that the Heat are a South Florida sports team, but they sort of like in their big games, in their playoff games, they sort of remind me of the Patriots almost, in that they're prepared, right, and they're getting all the details right. And the thing is, when you do that, a lot of times you come up against another team and the other team screws up. So while they're screwing up, you're just doing what you do and you win the game, So it's kind of like, and again, like you said, I don't think they can win the championship this way because you need more talent. I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, you watch the Lakers and the Warriors and they're turning the ball over like crazy and making all these mistakes, but the Heat, the Heat don't have that margin for error. So they got to be getting all the loose balls, getting all the deflections. They got to be doing all the dirty work to make up for that, which against some teams it works. I mean, against the Knicks it's working. Against Milwaukee just melted down in the last two games of the series. I mean, it's just, and Miami we're just going to keep doing what we do.
Yeah, it is a credit to Heat culture. You make fun of it all you want, but look at the results. You can't argue with the results. I think the whole season, the storyline with the Knicks was, well, Dallas screwed up. They should have paid Jalen Brunson. That's a huge mistake. That really ruined them. And I think we've seen in this series, Brunson's played well, but there are limitations to what the guy does. By the way, I love Jalen Brunson's game. The guy is awesome. He hits all the spots on the floor. He makes threes. He's great in the mid range. He's great driving to the basket. The guy is a home run. As far as a player goes. But you see that the Knicks have a pretty low ceiling as a team,
right?
And they don't have good enough shooting. And I'm just surprised how much tougher Miami is than I didn't think I would find a team coached by Tom Thibodeau that's not really tough, and that kind of surprises me.
Yeah, it comes from it comes from Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra. I mean, it's like what Dwayne Wade told them before they were, when they were thinking about getting Jimmy Butler. It's like, this is your guy because this guy fits Miami. So yeah, it all comes down from that, and obviously Pat Riley and all that. So, but yeah, it just It's really exciting. This is really awesome. The team has overachieved, and this is really cool. But at the same time, they're not going to win the championship with this. Like, they don't. It sucks because they don't have enough around Jimmy Butler to actually win the championship. Because but it is.
Well, we'll see. Let's
watching.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I don't listen. Yeah, I don't know, but I listen. I wouldn't put it past them. Crazier things have happened. The way this has gone, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat do some damage. Let's talk about who they might play. Well,
Right.
I mean, who we believe they're going to play. I don't see the Knicks coming back from 3-1 to win this series. So, the Celtics and the Sixers. Let me tell you something. This whole series has been wild from the jump. Game one, the Celtics completely just shit the bed. They don't show up on defense. Embiid doesn't play. Harden goes off, and they give up 120 points at home and lose. From that point on, basically, anybody who wants to try to tell me how good the Celtics are, like, yeah, I've tuned you out, because the Celtics do the same thing. They do the same thing that they did last year, when they almost blew it to Milwaukee without Middleton, and then they come basically close to collapsing against Miami. The series goes 7 games, which had no business going 7 games. And then it comes down to Butler missing a 3. Otherwise, the Celtics don't make the finals last year.
Yeah.
So let's go with the last 2 games, because this is kind of crazy. 76ers win on the road in Game 5. But before we talk about that, Game 4, I feel like we need to go back to this. So Philadelphia leads the game the whole time.
Yeah.
It looks like the Celtics are no-showing another one, and then they make this furious comeback to get the lead in the fourth quarter. Okay, Embiid looks shell-shocked. He's getting a shot blocked by Al Horford. It looks like, oh man, the Sixers just said, the Celtics are going to take this from them. And then inexplicably, they leave James Harden open for a 3 by double teaming Embiid. He hits the 3, with 18 seconds to go or something like that, and the Celtics can't get a shot off in overtime. They miss, not only that, the Celtics missed the shot to win the game at the end of regulation, and so it just creates this whole fuss about, should you call a timeout, should you not, blah blah blah. Now listen. I'm fine with the coach of the Celtics, Joe Mazzulla. I'm fine with you saying, listen, our strategy is to not call a timeout. That's how we want to do it. We knew what we wanted to do, and we set up what we wanted, and the shot was late. Okay, so let's just go through that. So that's your process. That's your belief. That's fine. But here's the problem with that. So the reason for not calling a timeout is to catch the other team off guard. Right? You want to just, after they score, you want to just bring the ball up quickly so you can get the defense out of place, maybe matched up on the wrong people, and get a good shot that way. Sometimes when you go to set up a play, the defense can change the zone or do something else. But in this case, the Celtics got the ball and walked it up the court. So that advantage that you were trying to create by not calling a timeout is gone. Because the Celtics, in both cases, at the end of regulation and at the end of overtime, the Celtics had gotten back on defense and they were in place. So this advantage that you created is non-existent. Okay? Then it takes them forever to run the play. Basically, the play, what he's saying was, we got the matchup we wanted. We got Tatum on Maxey. Okay? So the play was basically to have the guy that Maxey was guarding, Derek White, to go set a pick on Tatum's man so Tatum could go to the basket and then create something from there. But the problem is, Marcus Smart is the first one. He goes to try to set the pick first. So they didn't know what play they were running because he has to wave him off, which takes more time, which is basically the reason they didn't get the shot off.
Yeah.
So you're acting like, so they're not prepared at all. Your philosophy has all kinds of flaws in it. Right? If that's what you want to do, great. But the process doesn't dictate that's what you should do. And then Joe Mazzulla comes out the next day and says, yeah, I probably should have called a timeout there to make sure we set up the right play.
Yeah.
Which is just, to me, that's the icing on the cake right there. Okay, you don't know what you're doing. Okay? You're not prepared well enough. Doc Rivers is showing you up. Okay? Doc Rivers has been ripped apart for years for his lack of coaching expertise and failing in big moments, and you are just putting one on here. So whenever they ask him a question about, should your defense be better? Because that's been the problem in these games. I don't know how you feel about it, but from what I can see, the Celtics offense is fine other than late game situations, which they fuck up. Their defense is the issue. They're just letting Philadelphia go off in these games, and it's getting them in trouble, and that's why they can't close out these games. Whenever they ask Missoula a question about it, it's like, well, we got to execute it better offensively, you know. And their philosophy is we're just going to try to get as many open threes as we can. So the stat is out there. When the Celtics shoot 40% from three, they're 34-2.
Yeah.
When they shoot under 40%, they're 29-28. So
Yeah.
I think this is just a failure of epic proportions. Go ahead. Your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean they just I mean just it feels like they're not showing up in some of these games, and then it just the stuff that they do. I mean, it's like Tatum or Jaylen Brown will. I mean, oftentimes I see this with Tatum. He'll drive toward the basket into the teeth of the defense, and then it's like, well, he's got to kick it out to somebody, right? Because he's covered or whatever, and there's a guy open. And it's like that guy. Marcus Smart is open for a reason. You want that guy. You want Al Horford or Marcus Smart taking those shots. So the fact that this continues to happen, is just kind of like, you guys haven't figured this out yet. I mean, like, they're either doing that or Tatum just takes step back threes. This goes all the way back to the bubble. Okay, in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals in the bubble against the Heat, this was the end of regulation. The Celtics Tatum had the ball with a chance to win the game. Okay, he didn't need to shoot a three. I think they were tied, obviously, so he could have just gotten a two. But he basically just dribbled the clock basically down, and then took a step back three and missed it badly. And then the stuff happened in overtime where Bam Adebayo had the block or whatever. And so I'm just like, so this is going back years, and it's like, you guys haven't figured this out yet. I mean, I'm not necessarily against taking a three to try to win the game if you get a good look. But yeah, it just seems like, broken record, the same thing over and over and over and over again. And, as far as where you're talking about them making threes, we've seen this before. Like, Houston tried to win the championship. They probably would have if not for Chris Paul's injury, but that doesn't really work. The Warriors don't just shoot threes. That's not the only thing they do. That's not the reason they won those championships. It's part of it, but they were also able to, because of the how they sucked the defense out toward the 3-point line, they could get in and then get easy layups and get buckets and in the mid range and things like that. So yeah, it's just I mean, yesterday the game was at home. And they were. I mean, they got annihilated in that game. I mean, just not really close. So yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know what to. I don't know. I don't know what to make of them. They need to figure something out. I don't know if it's coaching, because the thing is, they were doing some of this shit last year. They did this in the finals when they had a different coach. Where they're just doing kind of the same stuff over and over and over again, and they need, like, Jason Timpf on Hoops Tonight is saying they need like a mid-range scorer or something, or they need to attack more in the mid-range at different times so you can get cleaner looks, even though that's a more difficult shot.
Right. I mean, that being said, Tatum in the second half last night was going to the basket. Like, he was getting them better shots. But again, it goes back to, now you're like, oh, well, the defense is not as good. And that was the thing. That was their best quality. That's what got them to where they were, was their defense. And now that the defense is worse, like, now so this series, the Celtics have just completely screwed this up, where they've now allowed Embiid to get healthier, right? He's not wearing the knee brace anymore. He looked like pretty close to himself last night. And so now you're allowing, and you sent me a text during the game. Did the Celtics realize how important this game is? Because it just feels
Game 5. Like, you take control of the series. If you go down 3-2, you have to go to Philadelphia, and you have to win that game, or your season is over. Like, that's back against the wall. Like, we need to fight against being close to being eliminated. I mean, and Boston, you have home court advantage. You have that for a reason, and now, like, you're in danger of not even being able to get to Game 7, which is the advantage, which is the reason why you want home court advantage. So Game 7 is on your floor. So, yeah, it's. I mean, credit to Philadelphia. I mean, James Harden played 2 really good games. He hit some really big shots. Embiid is, rounding into form. Maxey looks pretty good. Tobias Harris has done some stuff. So like, yeah, and they're playing pretty good defense. I mean, PJ Tucker's doing a good job, and I think they're doing it. They're trying to do a decent job of running them off the 3-point line. So
Yeah, I mean, look, the Celtics may make a bunch of threes, and maybe they'll win. But this is just, this isn't a formula to, if you want to win the championship. This is just, I just don't feel this is the way that you're going to be able to get it done. And before we move on from this series, yeah, I need to eat a little crow on James Harden. I
well, I
declared.
mean, they haven't won this series yet. I mean, it's
Yeah, but James Harden's had two 40-point games, and he almost had a triple double last night. He's been really good, and I declared the Simmons Harden trade a disaster. And what the hell was Philadelphia doing trading for James Harden? Like, this is not, whatever. And listen, he may flame out, and he may just not do anything in these last two games, and Philadelphia may go home. I get it, but yeah, I said all that stuff, and then James Harden went out and got a lot of things done. So I need to. It's a. I don't want to say full-fledged apology, but it is definitely an apology, because I thought the guy was a lost cause, and I thought he would play. But in games 2 and 3, that's kind of how he played. But
yeah,
he has given Philadelphia what they've needed so far, and if he gives them one more game like that, I think Philadelphia is in the conference finals. So we'll see how it goes. Eyes and ears open. I guess I can't call the James Harden move a complete dismal failure.
yeah. I mean, if they make the finals, then I mean, I guess you say it was worth it. I mean, you got out of the Ben Simmons contract, so at least on
Yeah.
that.
All right. So let's move on to the series that I mean. Listen, I've watched this series clenching my teeth because I picked Denver to go to the finals. So it's been a little touch and go the past few games, but Denver put the hammer down last night at home,
Yeah,
and got up 3-2. This series has been fascinating, ups and downs. It's just both offenses have been absolutely cooking, especially in Game 3 and Game 4.
yeah,
And I mean, and honestly, like the way I look at it now, like if it wasn't for an all-time heat check by Devin Booker,
yeah,
Denver would have won. The series would be over in 5 games. But what can you do? The guy's shooting 80%. I'm not sure what you're
yeah.
supposed to do.
I mean, game 4, I was really okay. And let me just explain this. Yeah, I picked Denver to win that series. Um, so I was disappointed in that respect because I'm like, ah, damn it. But I was more disappointed at the end of game 4 because I hate it when at the end of a game, basketball, football, whatever, where the other team has a chance to like tie the game or maybe take the lead, right? And look, in an NBA game, I at least want you to get a shot up. Okay, if it misses, it misses. Whatever. Because if it goes in, that's really cool. That's part of the reason we watch sports because that's what's fun, right? But I mean, they basically lost the ball on that second to last play that Denver had, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like that's just really anticlimactic. I mean, it's just come on. Like at least it's like in Miami when Dwayne Wade would dribble the ball off his foot or something at the end of a game. It's like really, dude, like come on. It just ruins the whole thing. It's just annoying. But I mean, you know, Jokic scored 53 points in Game 4. The only reason Phoenix won is because Devin Booker was, I mean, just hitting everything. I mean, just on a. I mean, you're not. We may never see somebody shoot like that in the playoffs again. So,
Yeah, and Phoenix had an all-time great performance by their bench. I think Landry Shamet had like 19 points. Like, if that doesn't happen, Denver wins that game easily. And so, I want to like. It's like, yeah. Could I blame Denver's defense a little bit? I mean, maybe, but I just don't know what you're supposed to do. Those, if the two guys are going to do that, like you don't have much of a chance. I just think what we thought has basically happened. I mean, Denver just got a deeper, better team, and Phoenix is basically hoping those two guys to, get 75 points plus combined every game for them to have a shot. And that's kind of And that's kind of what's happened. Devin Booker shot under 50% last night, which is fine. He had a really good game. Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
totally okay. But, just if you're going to do like it's just all-time performance, and I mean this is just I think from watching Jokic, like he's definitely gotten better over the past 2 or 3 years, just offensively as far as he himself scoring. When he's single covered, he's just destroying them. And so, but I'm watching people on TV just crushing DeAndre Ayton. Just, oh man, they got to get more from him and blah blah blah. Why isn't he doing this and that and whatever? And it's like, I mean, he's playing against Jokic. Jokic is roasting him. Jokic does that to basically everybody. Like, the reason Phoenix is losing this series is not because DeAndre Ayton isn't turning into Wilt Chamberlain. Like I feel the same way about DeAndre Ayton as I do about Bam Adebayo for the Heat. Like, so wait a minute. He barely gets the ball. Like you expect him to do all of this stuff, and you want him to score 20 points a game and demand the ball when he's on a team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like we're going over the top on this. This guy's not going to be an All NBA player. He's not a great player. He's not going to be. He was drafted 5 years ago. Like let's slow down on. We think DeAndre Ayton's going to be awesome because he was drafted number 1.
Yeah.
So could we just give it a little bit of a rest? You know. But so yeah, but this has been so entertaining to watch. The offenses in this series are just unbelievable. It's the complete opposite of watching the Knicks and the Heat. But I was thinking about this, and from time to time I think about this. Like we've seen these two teams in the playoffs, the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings. Could you imagine they both had the opportunity to draft Luka Doncic and didn't take him?
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine if De'Aaron Fox is sitting there playing with Luka, or Devin Booker's playing with Luka. Because it just kind of blows my mind. It's like, man, you imagine the place that Phoenix could be in, and listen, I'm not against like they have Kevin Durant. It's not a bad place to be, but it just kind of like, wow,
Right.
it's amazing how one pick can just completely change the fortunes of NBA franchises.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like Denver wins, and I think Denver has a really good chance to win Game 6. We'll see what happens. I mean, if Phoenix gets some good production from their bench, like they got in Game 4, then maybe Phoenix can get it to 7. But
Maybe I
I don't
wouldn't
think
rely on that though. I don't think that that's really gonna
right.
you know. And and also it's like, look, guys, I don't think that you can. I don't think you can win consistently in the playoffs with basically just two guys.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, oh, well, once Chris Paul went out, I thought Phoenix was screwed. As if when Chris Paul comes back, it's just going to make this gigantic difference. Like I don't really see that. Chris at this point in Chris Paul's career. So
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if you're Phoenix, you don't feel terrible. You got a home game. Maybe you can get it to Game 7. But I don't think Phoenix is going to beat Denver in Denver. I think Denver has a legit home court advantage because of the altitude, and I think it's going to be a problem for whoever tries to, go in there and win. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I feel good about my Denver pick. Felt a little uneasy after Game 4, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I think Denver's got the best team in the Western Conference. I think if it's not for Durant and Booker going supernova volcanic in a couple of games, I think Denver's got the best team. So let's move on to this one. I mean, this is probably the series that surprised me the most. Lakers are now up 3-1 on the Warriors. They pull out a great win at home, comes down to the wire, and another one. It felt like the Warriors made a lot of mistakes down the stretch to kind of lose this game, and the Lakers made a bunch of plays. I think it's been really fascinating from a matchup standpoint to see every game the teams are adjusting and changing to something else to see what works, and it's really kind of funny. Like the way the Warriors play, like they're doing this thing where they're pulling Anthony Davis out away from the basket with pick and rolls to try to create, and they're doing a great job with it. But then on the other end, the Warriors are having a really hard time stopping the Lakers inside, and they're really dominating, in that area. So it's kind of funny. Like both teams are in a certain way are crushing the other one in the areas that they're good at. And so it's a kind of I like this series the most because it's the two different styles. It's the Warriors with this wide open pace and space, 3-point shooting, drive and kick kind of stuff. And it's the Lakers with this, our size is gonna kick your butt. We're gonna get contributions from all these different players, and LeBron's gonna kind of be the chess master and set all this stuff up. And we're gonna get a different guy every night. Lonnie Walker, D'Angelo Russell in one of the games. Like it's Austin Reeves. It's kind of crazy how they've gotten these contributions from all these different guys. So, and I'm surprised that we said I thought what we missed on this was you and I were of the same mind that we thought the Warriors would win because they would be more consistent, right? And because we just thought the Lakers just from game to game there's this inconsistency that they play with. But when you watch this series, you go, yeah, but the Warriors are pretty inconsistent too. Like you saw that in the Sacramento series. Like, they were really locked in for some games, and then they got blown out in game 6 at home against Sacramento when you like, all right, the Warriors, the old Warriors would have clinched the series right then. And so, it's been fascinating to watch the back and forth of this. So what's your take on it?
Um, so yeah, I guess I just didn't. I think a lot of people forgot, and I guess it's dumb that we forgot this. I mean, if Anthony Davis is healthy and he's playing, you know, he's a huge problem for whoever he's playing against on offense and defense.
Especially
And
this team.
the league right now is not there's not a lot of big guys. So teams like the Lakers when Anthony Davis is healthy, or the Sixers with Embiid, or I know Milwaukee lost, but Giannis, or Jokic, like you don't have a lot of guys like that. So yeah, that's a huge problem, and it's obviously created a lot of problems for the Warriors because they have to figure out how to get, like I said, they didn't just win all those championships because they just shot threes all the time. They did shoot plenty of threes, but they were also, being able to get to the basket. And Anthony Davis has created some problems for them. They've figured out some ways around this, and they've been able to. They won game 2. Oh, they almost won game 1. I mean, it was pretty close at the end. Jordan Poole had a clean look. He missed the shot, but yeah, the last game I guess that was sort of disappointing from a drama perspective because I would have liked to have seen it be 2-2 instead of 3-1, and the Warriors just kind of fell apart there at the end. I mean, they made some bad plays. They had some turnovers, and Steph missed some shots. And by the way, can we just can we slow down? Can we stop for a second and appreciate how awesome Steph Curry is? Like he's the only reason they're in the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, he had to score 50 points for them to win Game 7 against Sacramento. Okay, and he was awesome against Sacramento. Okay, he was awesome I mean, he had a bad shooting game, but he was awesome in Game 4. I mean, he did all kinds of stuff the whole game. He just had a bad. Literally, if Steph had made 2 or 3 more shots, the Warriors probably win that game, and it's 2-2 going back to San Francisco for Game 5. Now it's 3-1. So yeah, I mean, I sort of had to adjust how I was watching this series because I'm watching it and I'm like, why is LeBron just sitting out on the perimeter not doing anything? And really, I think it's really, I think, just a matter of his foot injury. He doesn't want to aggravate it, so he's got to be really careful. So,
Right.
He sort of picks his spots, and there's times where, like in Game 3, I mean, he had a stretch there where it was like, that looks like old LeBron, like younger LeBron, I should say. So I had to kind of adjust that, but it doesn't really matter because, Anthony Davis does enough, and they have other guys hitting some shots, and then they're able to play defense well enough against the Warriors, and Klay Thompson's been inconsistent. Wiggins, you're not getting much out of. Jordan Poole, you're really not getting hardly anything out of. And then if you put Gary Payton on the floor with Draymond, well, that's another guy who's not really a threat to score. So that kind of screws up your spacing. So um, yeah, it's just the Lakers are. I'm not ready to say the Lakers are great, but they're good. They have a huge advantage with Anthony Davis that I think they're making pretty good use of. And the coach is a rookie, but he's made some adjustments and they've worked. So, they're up 3-1. If they lose game 5, so what? They're going home for game 6 with a chance to win the series. So, and I don't buy like some of these people, well, all they got to do is they got 3 chances to win one game. No, 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 no. You don't want to get this to game 7. Because if this goes to game 7, that means the Golden State has figured out enough for them to, keep scoring enough and being able to play good enough defense. So we'll have to see if there's any chess moves left. I don't really know. I feel like the chess move is they need to play harder, and Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole need to give you something on offense, and they need to watch their turnovers. The Warriors have always been a little bit sloppy, but they could make up for it. They don't have enough to make up for it. They need to stop with this, with the bad passes and stuff where the passes go out of bounds. Like you can't afford to do that because it's a lot harder to get the kind of looks you want on offense.
Well, Clark, and I feel like all the stuff that we talked about before the playoffs started with the problems with the Warriors, it's all kind of coming true, right? All the people who were telling, oh well, they're going to get Wiggins back. Okay, Wiggins has kind of sucked. Okay, well they're getting Gary Payton back. I mean that was a nice adjustment in game 4. To have him set the picks and be the play. Like I thought that worked okay, but he hasn't been really a difference maker in the series. And the Warriors have played 11 playoff games. They're 5-6. So I mean they kind of are like this. This is kind of what they've been. And let's go over this. There's a couple of points here that I want to make about this. So first of all, I'm tired of hearing about how the Lakers have an elite defense. Like, let's slow down. Okay, I'm watching the games. They have massive defensive breakdowns. Okay, there's parts of the game when the Warriors are doing what they're supposed to do. It's a layup line. Like this idea that oh my god the Lakers are so great defensively. They're listen. They're good. Don't get me wrong. They're doing exactly what they need to do to win the series. Okay, they're doing what they need to do against this team, and I've liked their game plans. But it's not. Oh my God, their defense is so elite. Part of this is, the Warriors have got some issues, and that's what makes this matchup difficult. Is the Warriors, like both teams have issues. Like when you look at, like I look after the games, I'll look at the team stats for both teams. The shooting, the rebounding, the 3-point percentage, the assists, I want to see like what happened in the game. And in all these games, both teams have about the same amount of turnovers. Okay, so no, I don't. I think the Lakers are doing a good job on defense. I'm not shortchanging them. Okay, but I don't think there's some kind of elite juggernaut defense that's going to slow anybody down. The Warriors are not very diverse on offense. Like they've figured out our only way to win is Curry doing everything. Right? We're going to make Curry the playmaker. And by the way, smart decision by Steve Kerr. That's their best option, but that's the only thing they have. Because nobody else on this team can really, I mean, Draymond can a little bit, can really make plays for other guys. But the only problem is no one's afraid of Draymond scoring. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter how good a playmaker he is because he's not a threat to score. So that's kind of what's going on in this series. The other thing I wanted to talk about is people saying like that the Warriors are the better team. And people who are acting like, oh well, listen, yeah, they won some close. The Lakers won some close games, but the Warriors are really better, and they'll show it in these games. Like you can't use that excuse. Okay, I heard this all last season.
First of all, in Game 1, the Lakers were basically in the lead the whole time. The Warriors tried to make sort of a furious comeback, and their last shot was Jordan Poole from, I don't know, from the parking lot. I mean, I don't know how far away he was from the 3-point line, but I mean, good God. So, like, they were kind of in control of that game, and then Game 2, the Warriors kind of, which was predictable, the Lakers kind of had a letdown in Game 2. Game 3, the Warriors were kind of they were kind of rolling a little bit, and then the Lakers went on a run, and LeBron had a stretch where he was like chasing down, running, doing chase down blocks, and like running all over the place, because they had gotten ahead, and I think he didn't want the lead to kind of slip away. So, if you want to say that they're somewhat even, and even though the Lakers are up 3-1, it's been close. Like I can
Right.
live with that. Okay, that's fine. But I don't necessarily know that you can say that the Warriors are just definitively the better team. Like I don't, it's not like there were a bunch of bad calls that didn't go their way. I mean, again, game one that was a really long three. Okay, and then at the end of game four, I mean, they were trying to come back, and they would have had to. I mean, you would have had to make a shot at the end. To me, that doesn't necessarily say that you're the better team.
Yeah, it's like, well, the Warriors have beat themselves. They've made mistakes.
They have made
If you're
mistakes, but
if you're watching the series, the Lakers make just as many dumb mistakes.
right,
Like this isn't like the Lakers are doing a clinic and the Warriors are just making all these mistakes and otherwise they would win. That's not what's happening. The Lakers are turning the ball over just as much. The Lakers have just as many defensive breakdowns as the Warriors do. What's all that's happening is in these close games, the Lakers have executed a little bit better down the stretch. And you've seen, by the way, you've seen this in the playoffs. The Warriors struggle down the stretch. Game 4 against Sacramento, they call a timeout when they don't have one. Like that game, game 4 against the Lakers. Steph's throwing the ball behind him for no reason. What was that? Like they're taking 30-foot shots for no reason. Klay Thompson jacks one up, and Steve Kerr's like, "What are you doing?" Like, so the Warriors have gotten to where they are by their own accord. But that doesn't mean, oh, well, they're better. They'll just clean this stuff up and whatever. It's like, well, you're 11 games into the playoffs. Like you were bad on the road this year. Like people keep telling me, oh, they're going to fix it and whatever. And it's like, this is who you are.
yeah,
Like just like the Celtics last year, it's who you are. I don't care how talented you are. I know Steph Curry's great. You don't have to tell me. But
yeah,
at some point, that comes into
yeah.
play, and
Two
you're not the
things
better
can be,
team.
yeah, two things can be true. The Warriors have had an unbelievable dynasty. They've won all these games. It's been awesome. They've sort of revolutionized the game. It's been crazy to watch. There's been some really cool moments. Steph Curry's awesome. All that stuff. Okay, that's all true. Okay, but where they are right now, they're a bad defensive team that's not very diverse on offense. That's really got some limitations. And against a team like the Lakers, when Anthony Davis is out there healthy playing, they got some serious problems.
Right. And, listen, it's not to say that the Warriors can't, win game 5, whatever.
I kind of think they
I,
will, actually.
I just don't think the Warriors are going to play well 3 games in a row. We haven't seen the
Yeah.
Warriors do that basically the whole time. So I don't buy into this. They're the champs, therefore they're whatever. This is not the same team. It's just not the same. This is not who they were last year. And even then we were worried they weren't going to make it. The other thing I wanted to point out is I told you before the series that LeBron being smarter than a lot of these guys and having, understanding how to manage these things because he's been in the NBA so long was going to come into play. And it did in the fourth quarter of that game. Okay. LeBron figured out, okay, you know what? Steph's wearing us out. So we're going to take advantage of him when he's playing defense. So in the fourth quarter, when Stan Van Gundy's going, I don't know why they're not getting the ball to Davis. He's not even asking for it. Why isn't Anthony Davis getting the ball? Yeah, because LeBron's getting switches where he's getting Curry onto him, right? He had Lonnie Walker take advantage of him a couple of times in the fourth quarter there. So I really believe they wore Steph down. It was completely on purpose that LeBron's like, no, we need to go after Steph right here to win the game. And they did. And you think it's a coincidence Steph takes a 30-foot shot instead of driving to the basket at the end of the game? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's, oh, this is the best shot I can get. I think he was dead tired, because if you look at the stat sheet, for God's sakes, he did everything in that game, 31, 17, and 10, or some crazy,
Yeah.
whatever numbers it was. So, yeah, so I think that this is a good team for LeBron because it's not a great supporting cast, but they have everything that you need, right? They have some guys who can shoot. They have a big, Anthony Davis can do a lot of stuff down low. They have the guys who can defend. They've got, they have any guys who can do a little bit of everything. So it's like this chess match where LeBron's like, okay, what do I need to do in this game to get us to win? And I think, I'm really impressed. Like I know LeBron's not tearing it up. I get it. I think part of it is the injury. I think part of it is this is how LeBron's probably going to be playing. I just think this is where he's at, with where it
That's
is.
to be honest. I want to. I don't believe on that. Let's wait and see how he plays next year because in the off season he's going to great, and then let's see how he's in the
Right.
regular season because there were plenty of times in the regular season averaging a bunch of points. So I think, maybe he just really, really wants. I mean, again, I do think that part of it where he wants to make sure the other guys are going, which he's always been that way. But even in the past when he did that, it'd be like, there'd be a few minutes where he's trying to get people the ball and move the ball around and get the offense kind of clicking. The course of that, here I'm gonna get a layup here, I'm gonna get a shot here, I'm gonna get a shot here. Sort of doing that now. It still feels very different. He still feels very disengaged. I don't. That's not that, but he's just sort of hanging back. I mean, in Game 3, he basically he was kind of a little bit, and then it was basically like they came back and they got ahead of the Warriors, and then he's like, okay, we're not losing this game, and he started kind of looking like the old LeBron on offense defense for a couple of minutes. Now, if he didn't have the foot injury, maybe that couple of minutes lasts a few more minutes. I don't know. Again, jury's not in yet on that until I see how he plays next year. But yeah, there's part of it where it is kind of he's doing what the team needs him to do, and I do think that this is. I was thinking about this yesterday. Look, people are kind of about the GOAT discussion, and I don't really want to get into that. But I will say this: just taking LeBron, it is impressive to me when a guy that's as good as LeBron decide, okay, well, what's the best way for me to win
Right.
that I'm on? It reminds me of Tim Duncan at the end. The last several years when he basically he became more of a complementary player. The Spurs were playing, it made more sense for him to do that, and they won a ton of games. They two titles because of it. They won one, but the other one, obviously the Heat won. But this is when you talk about like when LeBron retires and you're talking about what was LeBron like. This is one that sort of fits into like how he's a great teammate and how he's trying to get assists and trying to get him going. He was just totally focused on winning. It wasn't about, well, I got to get my shot up and whatever else. Like, granted, he is taking a lot of shots and doing so very inefficiently, but he's doing what his team needs him to do to win. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a great job by LeBron getting this team to this level. Um, I think the Lakers win this series. I don't know that this is going to hold up for another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. But if they're healthy, like they're good. They create a lot of problems, and
Yeah.
more. If Davis is gonna play like this, but he's been up and down in the playoffs, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done a really nice job maximizing what this team has, and yeah, we kind of laughed at the Lakers being contenders a month ago, and yeah,
Well, I mean, in
they kind of
fairness,
proved us
they
wrong.
did. Some of it depends on the matchups you get, and they got Memphis, which they're an immature. John Morant was coming back from an injury. Um, you know, got through that, and then you get the Warriors, who have been struggling all year long. So I think it'll be assuming the Lakers win this series, which I think they will, and assuming Denver really interesting. To see how because Jokic can kind of go right at this, and Anthony Davis can go right at Jokic. So we'll see defense, and they can hold up enough, and they can get enough offense to compete with a team like Denver. That Denver's got way more continuity than the Lakers do. I don't know. I mean, it's.
Well,
I'm
and
surprised.
the other thing is, Clark, it's funny. Like if the Warriors just get hot from three, the Lakers are in big trouble. Like if the Warriors shoot 40% from three the next three games, Lakers are in big trouble. Like that's all. By the way, that's all that game
Yeah,
came down to. The Warriors got all kinds of open shots. Like that's why I really push back on this Lakers are an elite defense thing because I'm watching the game going, what are you talking about? Like the Warriors are getting in the first half, they had 8 to 10 wide open threes. They missed a couple of layups. Like this is not like Laker defensive dominance going on here. So that's why I want to check. I want to just check people at the door with that. Okay, just slow down on the Lakers are awesome on defense. I'm not. I'm not
yeah,
convinced. If they and the thing is, I'm watching the Warriors with they have Steph Curry and nobody. The rest of the Warriors are not really. The Lakers are not afraid of anybody else. I'm watching Denver going. Denver's going to kind of carve up the Lakers defense a little bit because Denver can come at you from all kinds of different angles. They're much more
right,
diverse offensively than any other team in the playoffs.
right. And
So anyway, but
pick and roll. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, if they want to do a pick and roll with Jokic, I mean, it's not like you're doing a pick and roll with Steph Curry and Draymond Green or something.
right,
Jamal Murray, Jokic, it's like, okay, well, Jamal Murray can shoot from the outside, or Jokic can just take you down into the post and find a way to get a hook shot, get up and get a layup. So that's a very different. That to me, that may be one of the lasting things from this playoffs, other than it just being weird. Um, you can get these Sixers make it to the finals, right?
right.
Or the Nuggets. You get two playing against you. When I mean, you were texting me today. Last time we saw that, I mean, I know the Lakers like they played the Spurs sometimes, but Tim Duncan wasn't really a center, you know.
Right.
So there's
Yeah,
that,
I
and
tried to. Yeah, I tried to think about it. I mean, 2010, the Lakers played, or both times the Lakers played the Celtics. The last time, the Lakers had Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum against Garnett and Kendrick Perkins, but those were not like
yeah,
MVP candidate. Like none of those centers were like the focal point of their team. And you go back the Lakers played when the Shaq and Kobe Lakers played against Philadelphia, and they had Dikembe
yeah,
Mutombo. But Dikembe Mutombo was older. Like that wasn't really a legit matchup. And I think what you suggested is right. The '95 Rockets playing against the Magic, where it's Shaq against Olajuwon. That's really like this. It would really be a callback, and especially so. Basically, just if the Sixers make the finals, it would really be just. It'd really be awesome to watch the big guys go at it like that because a lot of times, like the way the NBA is now, these centers, these awesome centers, they usually don't get to play against anybody who's anywhere near their level of play. Like
right,
like you see Giannis just destroy everybody, but yet if you've watched a few times like during the regular season when Milwaukee would play Philadelphia, it's a different animal because when Giannis just goes in and puts his shoulder into Embiid, he doesn't move. It's not the same. So it's very interesting when you get to see these two big guys go up against each other when they're both awesome, and we haven't got to see that a lot really since the '90s. So yeah, that would be a lot of fun. So before we get out of here, I just want to go over a couple of things that are annoying me that I'm kind of tired of hearing about. Number one, not necessarily in any order, but this is just the one I'm going to go first. LeBron playing with his son in a couple of years. Listen, it's great. That's wonderful. I'm glad that LeBron wants to play with his son. Could we fucking lay off the analyzation of how this is going to work? Like, all right. So Bronny James is going to go to USC. Great, good for you. I'm glad he's getting a full scholarship. Awesome. I'm sure he's going to get great NIL deals and whatever. Great. I hope you have a great time there. That's awesome. But could we stop analyzing like, well, who's going to get him? And do you think somebody's going to draft him because they think they're going to get LeBron on his team? And, what are we going to do? I'm tired of the whole thing, guys. Like, we don't even know if he's good enough to be a lottery pick right now. Like, let's let the kid play in college and then let's see how it goes. Okay? No, I do not think this is going to be a situation where somebody's going to draft LeBron James's kid because they think they're getting LeBron. And by the way, if that happens, whatever, I don't really care. But can we move on? Like we're a year away from being a year away. Like that's how I feel about this. Like we'll talk when it happens. Great, we can all analyze it to death and talk about it and all this nonsense. But honestly, could we stop making it the story like every 5 minutes? Like I just don't understand. I know people are gonna be real interested because everybody's a star fucker. I get it, but I don't care.
Yeah, I don't.
That's
That's one of those. That's one of those topics I don't really care about. I mean, there's been a lot of that they're just oh well, did is this year a failure for the Milwaukee Bucks? And you spent people spending four talking about it on the radio. Like I'm trying to think of the other ones. Like you know,
Oh yeah, where's Dylan Brooks gonna play next year?
yeah, who gives a shit talking about this? Yeah, yeah, that, and then I mean, just I just a lot of the speculation, like today, Colin Cowherd with his the Celtics need to trade Jaylen Brown and the Warriors for Andrew Wiggins. Jordan Poole. So Jordan Poole is simultaneously the guy who's not showing up in this series and who's terrible, but you got to get him if you're Boston.
Right. Yeah, it's that's just I mean, God, that is such a hacky old school sports radio take. That's so bad. And I texted you, hey, if we give the Lakers Dickie Simpkins, can we have Kobe Bryant? It's like back in the day. I'll take your answer off the air. That's the thing. That's the funniest part about. But well, let's go on a rant just for a second here on Colin Cowherd's show. So the Herd on Fox or on FS1, daily, Eastern, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. He is just completely gone the other way on things that he just completely hated. He used to call wrestling fans booger eaters. Okay?
Yes.
Now he's having wrestlers on his show. He's going to WrestleMania and talking about how great an entertainment product it is. Like, wait a minute. Like, you don't get to do that. And then he's playing it off like, well, I used to it was kind of a bit that I was doing where I was making fun of wrestling fans. No, it wasn't. Okay, number one, no, it wasn't. I've been listening to you for 15 years. That is not the case. Don't try to tell me that nonsense. That is crap. You shit all over wrestling for 20 years, and now you're back in because Fox has wrestling. Okay, knock it off. So get the hell out of here with that. The other thing was...
Go ahead. We'll go ahead.
No, the other thing is the trade. He used to make fun of people that called in with bullshit fake trades. That used to be one of his staples. Like he used to make fun of him. That whole thing I just did about Dickie Simpkins, that was something he used to say. I'll take your answer off the air. What do you think if we trade a first-round pick and an end table for Shaquille O'Neal? How about that? It's just people with ridiculous trade requests. It is so bad. Do people not understand? That's what sports radio was. Let me educate you young fans out there. In the 90s, in the 80s too, but I paid attention to it in the 90s. That's what sports radio was. Everyone call in and give your ridiculous nonsense trade request or idea that why doesn't the team try this? Why don't the 49ers with Montana try the wishbone? It works, I'm telling you. That's what the calls used to be. And for him to come out with this ridiculous bullshit trade request, it's just like, come on, man. Do better.
Well,
go ahead.
And then let's just go over some of the ridiculous trade ideas that he's had. Okay. Trade to the Warriors for Draymond Green. He literally said he sounded serious. Okay. There's that one. I'm trying to think of other ones. Well,
he's been trying to trade Anthony Davis for 3 years.
Yeah, the Anthony Davis thing. I love this. So it's the Lakers win the championship this year or go to the finals, right? And it's like, oh well, you should still trade him. Well, for what? Like, if you're going to suggest a trade, first of all, this was the point I want. I'm not against you suggesting a team make a move or make a trade, whatever. Okay, you think they need to make a change, whatever. Okay, but you can't and then not say what you think the move is. Okay, because the whole crime is that what you're suggesting is better than how things currently are. Okay,
right.
So and sometimes people will say that they should fire a coach. I'm like, for who? So that's one. Me, and then people make a suggestion. I'm like, what you're suggesting is dumb. It really makes no sense. Trade Anthony Davis for Damian Lillard. That doesn't solve any of your issues. Trade Anthony Davis for Kyrie Irving. That doesn't fix any of your problems. Like what?
Right.
um, his whole obsession with like big guys, where you got to get a big guy. He's saying the Warriors need to get Mitchell Robinson or something.
Right, right. He wanted to trade Jordan Poole for Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks, which was, I'm just like laughing. I'm like, are you watching the playoffs? Like, Mitchell Robinson sucks. Like, he literally, the problem that the Warriors are having in this series is they have too many guys that the Lakers aren't guarding because they don't score. Mitchell Robinson doesn't score. Like, it blows me away. But anyway, so we'll get off of that. But the other thing that's annoying me, and we've talked about this before, but the NFL is releasing its schedule on Thursday night at 8 p.m. This is something you and I have been on forever. Like, I'm a little, I've backed off a little bit because I get, people talk about the schedule, but, I'm still not positive on the schedule really, really matters. Like, did it help the Eagles last year? Yeah, it probably did. But you can't go, oh, well, this because of the schedule, they made it to the Super Bowl. No one talks about that. They talked about how great their players are. So right. This is just, and so the NFL, we're now doing games in Germany. The Dolphins are going to play the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. The Dolphins have to play on Black Friday, play the Jets on Black Friday in New York. So the NFL is doing is basically just stretching out, trying to take more attention away from everybody else, as if they're not getting enough attention, the whores that they are. Okay? So they make more money than every other sport, okay? And it's just ridiculous. And all of these shows are going to turn into, well, the NFL schedule is, listen, I understand ratings are your baby. That's what you got to get. I understand you get ratings. You talk about the NFL, you get ratings. I understand that. Okay, but don't try to tell me that it matters, because it doesn't. I'm out on. I'm just honestly, the NFL. I feel like the NFL is like this, Clark. It's like if there's a really good series of books that you like I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but let's say you like Tom Clancy books, right? So when the next Tom Clancy book comes out, right, you're in on it, right? Like, oh man, this is awesome, blah blah blah. You read the book and then you put it on your bookshelf and you move on to the next thing. So this is how I treat the NFL. Right? After the Super Bowl, I put it on the shelf and take it easy until the draft. Then like a week before the draft, I take it off the shelf, I dust it off. Oh, cool, great. Watch the draft. And then after the draft, I put it on the shelf. It's like spring cleaning, right? I put it away in the attic, okay? And I'll come back and get it in August. Okay? I'm sorry about this. We have all of these great sports going on. We have the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, Champions League in soccer. We have all of this stuff going on that's really great. But no, the NFL is releasing the games that are going to be played in September. We got to talk about it. Yeah. So it's just like I'm done. I'm tired of it. I'm done.
Yeah. As far as games in Germany, okay. Games in London and Germany, fuck off. Okay, I'm not getting up in the morning to watch them. I'm not watching football for 12 hours on a Sunday. Okay, I'm not doing it. I don't watch Thursday night football. I'm not on Black Friday. Well, I mean, maybe I'll watch a little bit of that one. But I mean, I will say this, like, I always thought it was bullshit when the NFL acted like they gave a shit about player safety. And, it is a little kind of like guys, like really. All this Thursday game, put a game on Friday, like.
Oh yeah, listen to your player safety. Right. Yeah. Well, to your player safety comment, like there's two games in London. I think Jacksonville's playing twice in London. Okay, these teams can now force these teams to play 2 Thursday night games, because I think they're going to put them part of the flex schedule now. So these teams, you might have to play twice on a Thursday game. Okay, they're having the Dolphins play on Friday after they're probably going to play on a Sunday, the week before. So they've got to deal with that. So it's a short week. I know it's one day longer than Thursday, but it doesn't really matter. And the NFL's figured out, now the NFL's trying to put like really big matchups, important matchups on Thursday night, which is just like, do you care about the product at all? Like, does it even matter?
I don't want you flexing stuff onto Thursday night. Like, it's like, oh, the product's bad on Thursday. Too fucking bad. Of course it's on Thursday. What
Right.
what did you expect?
Right. Yeah, it's like, the NBA has bad games that are bad. They have bad games where guys aren't playing or whatever. Like, it happens sometimes. Like, you're just gonna have to deal with it. But it's like the NFL. So no, we got to squeeze more and more and more out of it. And it's just beyond ridiculous. And I understand I get that's what the NFL is doing. But no, we're good. Like, and listen, I'm not one of these anti-football people. I like football. Like, when it's football season, I'm in. It's great. Don't get me wrong, and I watch a lot of it. But like, slow down on we got to stop everything because the NFL's releasing the schedule, so we've got to have 17 shows devoted to it. It blows my mind how much the NFL has become the heroin for everybody, and we just can't live without it.
Pointing out to you a couple, like with with the draft. Or with the combine, I was like, guys, the combine's not. The NFL Network and the rest of the sports media are tell you that it is, and they're covering it, and then you just get sucked. It's not interesting. Okay, you're literally being manipulated by the media, sports media. This happens all the time with all the media, really. Okay, eyeballs because they need ratings. They tell you that they tell you about stuff and they say this is important when it's really not. Okay?
Right.
So I'm kind of pulling back from this. It's like I'm going to watch I'll watch Dolphins games and I'll watch some of the games. I'm not going I'm not going to watch football and stay up on a Thursday night. I'm not
right.
We flex this game into here. I'll watch the not, and second of all, the product is not good. It's not going to be good. Okay, you guys would have to change up the schedule somehow so Thursday night games could be better, because it's just, you guys. I think that you reach a point where there's a saturation point where it just becomes ridiculous. And I do think at a certain point people go, all right, watching, but I'm gonna pull back and I'm gonna focus on other stuff because this is like important all the time. 365. You listen to some radio shows and it's fucking. It's the end. It's May, and they're just all. And I'm like, guys, there's way more interesting stuff. That's actually stuff. There's games being played. I'm not really watching, but I mean, I would imagine that's more interesting than talking about, how's this going to look with this different quarterback, and how's Sam Darnold going to look on. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's like I said, Clark. I've put it on the shelf. I put it on the shelf. I'll be back. Listen, I'll be back. I'm not going anywhere. But you don't need to cut. But stop trying to reel me in with your nonsense when I know it's not the real thing. You're trying to pass off a Salisbury steak as a filet mignon. I'm not falling for it. Like, I'll be there.
Yeah. As far as the saturation. Me of like Star Wars, okay? One Star Wars, they started putting out a movie every year, and then after a few years, people are like, "Good, what are you guys doing?" And now they're putting out all these shows, and it's keep up with it, and it's like, I don't think I care anymore. Like, you guys have just decided we're gonna crank this out, to the nth degree until you're absolutely,
Yeah, listen, I get the NFL. The NFL bows down to the almighty dollar. I get it. I understand it. But honestly, stop trying to drive it down my throat.
Yeah.
I will be busy watching the NBA playoffs, which the Heat game started a few minutes ago. So we got to get out of here. Yeah. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the playoffs. We will talk to everybody soon. Go Nuggets.